it occurred to me, I never told you the story of how I almost died. But anyway, let's start the show. Now, I know, and I promised that I wouldn't talk about it. They didn't want a lot of fanfare and everything like that. I'm going to let them talk about it when they want to talk about it. I give this person a hard time. Tonight, I will be nice. I start with them. Regrets, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, because I have to watch this movie again because it was actually
hold up. Tease him. Give him a tease. Just give him a little taste. We want returning customers.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, right?
He's got to give you the thing.
Okay. The movie is a good time. It's a good time.
Okay, wait, pause. Let me bring in our other host. Now, this person, they call themselves the Queen of Recasted. They are no stranger to being not humble. They call themselves superior.
Thank you. Thank you for referring to me yet again by my formal title, Queen of Recasted.
I said they call themselves the Queen of Recasted.
And many others.
Many other titles. The Queen of Black Lightning.
I'll take it.
The Queen of Tea.
Yes.
End up keeping it. The secret keeper of secret
yes,
keepers.
I am the secret keeper, the gatekeeper of secrets. Yes.
How are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. I'm happy to be discussing this movie. First time seeing the movie, and I can't wait to hear everyone's thoughts about it.
Now, listen, I know this is my night. We're doing the movie Fallen with Denzel Washington, star-studded cast, by the way. I hope everybody enjoyed it. But let's give some shine to what Vic, what Jack does. And that's the Black Lightning. I hear it's jumping. Is that true? Is that true or false?
It's doing pretty well. So if you enjoy Black Lightning, join us on this channel. We post it every week, every day after the show. So the show airs on Monday. We post our review on Tuesday. It's a fun time. Join us.
And if you're watching it and you keep watching it, why don't you subscribe? What are you doing?
Yeah, come and subscribe.
Let's bring in the person who started this all, who brought the chaos to you, who brought the laughs, who compiled us all together, who tears us down and yet gives us a compliment so we come back at least once a week. The executive consultant.
How are you I just want to let everybody know that I have to rewatch this movie at 10:04 p.m.
We are coming to you live from the mountain states. That's why it seems like we're late. It seems like we're late.
I saw this movie and I gotta watch it again. Why I have to watch it again? Stay tuned and find out. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Make sure that you like, subscribe to us on YouTube at UPRE. Make sure you go ahead and do that. And if you're on Facebook, follow us there. Follow us on Twitter, Twitch, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. Now, this is my pick. I waited all month for this. I love these movies. I'm gonna compile a list so you can see the rationale behind my madness and my picks and why I frustrate Chrissy with these different picks. But as always, it's a psychological movie, a character piece, which I always try and bring to you, and I really like it. Let me run down the synopsis, which admittedly I did not write down, and Chris is gonna kill me because I'm supposed to be sending that early before the show. But I will have that for you all on the rebroadcast. Essentially, this is a cat and mouse game between a detective by the name of Hobbs, John Hobbs, and what appears to be a copycat serial killer. As things go on, we realize that this person knows too much information to merely be a copycat. And when all other avenues are exhausted, the impossible becomes the probable. Now, I say that without giving too much of the spoilers away, but let me say now, in order to talk about this movie effectively, we will probably, and we will, I know I am, going to delve into spoilers. So if you haven't seen this movie and you want to, and I hope you do, leave it up, but turn down the audio because we want those views, but go and watch the movie, okay? And that said, if you don't mind, I will actually go first this time. I know it gets teased about going last a lot of times, but there are a couple of things that I like about this movie that just jump out. One, it's a mystery. I love mysteries. Why? Because when I go into the theater, I don't just like to be spoon-fed. I like to be an active participant. I like to figure things out. And when it's an effective mystery, and this movie, I think it opens up brilliantly because there's a narration throughout by Denzel Washington's character, quote unquote, Detective Hobbs. And the movie opens up with the line of, I'm going to tell you about the time I almost died. But you're so engrossed in the movie, at least I was, that you forget that the key word in that sentence is almost. Because at the end, you're rooting for him to succeed because of who the antagonist is in the film. And then you realize at the twist ending, not a Shyamalan twist ending, but it's an ending that I'm gonna get to another part that I like, is foreshadowed 2 times in this movie before the ending. So it's not just like a random, oh, how that just happened to come, but it's actually foreshadowed 2 other times, and it actually goes also to explain the rules in this world, in this movie, right? And I always talk about that, especially when I talked about the MCU movies, even the DC movies. I said if the characters don't have established context as far as their powers, then anything goes. There's no threat, right? I said that back then, and why do I say it now? There's a portion in this movie when Hobbs is in his precinct and he's looking at a tape of this serial killer who was executed, and he's trying to figure out, well, who's copying him, right? And on the tape, the guy's speaking this ancient language, and outside on the window is the antagonist, who, in this point, you have to understand that they're basically a demon, and they can inhabit the bodies of living beings, and he's in the body of a cat, right? So it establishes already at that point, we know that it can jump into people because we know that it was in the serial killer that he's watching the tape of. But now we know it can be in animals. And a little bit later on in the movie, right, 2/3 in, we see Denzel Washington's character go up to a cabin, a remote cabin. And the only other person or thing there is a stray cat. But of course, during the climax of the movie, we forget all about the cat because the setup and how Denzel Washington's character figures out the way to actually stop. Azazel is the demon's name, reference to First Class, if you know that one. How he figures out to stop him, it's brilliant. And he deserves to win. And if it's not for that cat, he would have won. But of course, the audience is so engrossed in the movie at that point and the plan that actually worked. And you're like, damn, he's actually going to do it. You forget about the cat. And again, the narration is saying, you forgot. I told you I was going to tell you about the story, a story about the time I almost died. And that's when the cat comes out the house and we see that he has possessed the cat's body and he's made it out. Love it. Thank you, Dylan, for talking about the movie that we're watching, reviewing tonight. That's really good. So I like that. There's a reference, a foreshadowing. There's narration. There's a mystery. It's a stars to the cast, as I said in the beginning of the show. And also another thing that I mentioned, I can't remember which. I mentioned this when we did Demon Knight. So there's a character, Greta Milano. She's the daughter of somebody else who was her father, who was in a similar situation about 30 years before this movie takes place, right? This movie actually takes place in Philadelphia, Crystal City. It's Philly, right? Yeah, in Crystal City. So 30 years before, her father was actually in the same place. And it's very interesting because when you see how the actress portrays that role, she portrays it as somebody who knows obviously more than she's telling Denzel Washington's character, but she tells him only enough so as to help him out, keep him safe to a certain degree, but she doesn't tell him so that he just writes her off as crazy. And it's only after he's seen enough and come back with names and information that she says, okay, I'm going to tell you something else. And even when she tells him that, it's too hard for him to digest. I said the same thing in Demon Knight when the character, he tells them the story, even though they've seen the demons, they've seen the collector there. They don't have that reality. They don't have that lived experience. So it's too beyond the realm of possibility for them. So even when he told in Demon Knight, when he tells them the story, they're like, that's crazy. That's insane. Even though they've seen all those things. Well, Denzel Washington has seen a person who was illiterate and he's speaking these ancient languages. He's doing all these things. People are following him. They're doing the same, literally the same exact crime. The bodies are placed the same way. That's an impossibility, right? But for him to take that further step of that this is a demonic act, he can't do that. And I love the realism in that because in the real world, you wouldn't just accept that that's the case. There has to be some other plausible explanation. And in the narration, who we find out that it's not Denzel Washington, his character narrating the movie. It's actually Azazel. in the voice of Denzel Washington as he's dying. And he's saying human beings see things all the time. They just don't realize that they're seeing it or accept what they're seeing. That's one of the quotes that I wrote down. I'll get to that later. And it's so true. And the movie is really about his observations of humanity, right? And it's almost like a journal entry that he's writing throughout the movie. And it's really, really good. As I said, great performances. You have James Gandolfini in there. You have John Goodman. John Goodman brings it in every role that he's in. He's phenomenal. And Denzel Washington, he's phenomenal in this movie. And you see him brought to his breaking point. And I loved his relationship with his brother, who in this movie has special needs. And at some point you see that because he chose to be a good brother to his brother and his nephew, who he's helping to raise, his wife left him. Now, his wife is not denigrated, and he's not bitter about it. He says, as he says, I love you. You're my brother. We're a family. And you see when their family starts to get messed with by Azazel, you care about them. You care about the people involved. You see the internal struggle that he has, and it's really, really great. And I also say this for the horror factor, it's really effective when you see Azazel jumping from body to body, because all he has to do is do it by touch. And it's a really simple, effective way to show that and the terror of that, because especially what he does when he's inhabiting people's body. But that is my thought on the movie thus far. Anybody want to go next?
I'll go. Like I said, this is the first time I've seen this movie. And unbeknownst to me, I've been using clips of this movie for quite a while, not knowing that it's from this movie. There's a meme or a gif of Denzel Washington when he's sitting at wherever he's sitting, and he goes to he's having a breath of relief. Mm-hmm. And no idea that was from this movie, so that was interesting to find out. So I almost like Vic up there. I had to watch this movie twice. Well, let's say 1.5, because I started it over the weekend, and unfortunately I was unable to finish. So I said, okay, let me just restart it from the beginning today. And once you get past it's the time period of it, it's came out in the 90s. It's very 90s-esque. It looks very 90s. Once you get past that, though, it had an interesting story. It was a thriller, I would say, but it has that element of like the unknown, like the fantasy of it, like if this is this a devil, like is this a demon? What is it that he's dealing with? I thought that was interesting. It was nice to see Miss Honey from Matilda. I swear I thought she only ever did that Matilda movie, but I guess she did this too. And I enjoyed the movie so far from what I saw of it. But again, I had to see it twice. But I will say the ending was a little predictable to me as far as the twist with, his, I don't know how much we're going to say, but I guess we get spoiler alert. his superior and his partner, that twist where they kind of like turned on him. I thought that was a little tropey, but again, I have to take it to the time period. Was it tropey at that time? I don't know. But that was a little bit predictable for me. And as far as the cat goes, I know the cat or a cat was mentioned earlier in the movie. I understand that, but I still didn't like the fact that he jumped into the cat. It seemed like a little cheap to me. I don't know. I know they already established this is something that he could do, but I still didn't like the ending. And maybe it was because I was kind of rooting for Denzel Washington to be successful. But that part I really didn't like. But yeah, it's definitely a 90s movie.
Now you said just a quick follow-up. You said that his partner and his lieutenant, they turned on him. Do you consider, before the reveal of Azazel being one of them, obviously, they came as if apprehended because Azazel had framed Denzel Washington's character for the murder of several people by this point. So why did you feel that they turned on him rather than they were just trying to apprehend him? Because
didn't Roseanne's husband, I forget his name, you know who I'm talking about.
Jonesy, John Goodman, yeah.
John Goodman. Didn't he mention something about how they can't just, shoot him and take his car or do something like it. Seemed like they had a plan to.
Oh, Jonesy said to the lieutenant, why can't we just let Denzel Washington run away and put his car in the lake as if he drowned in the lake? So he was trying to deflect, like as if he wasn't Azazel, because even after he shot the lieutenant, he told Denzel, "Go run, because I'm having fun. Like in this game, I don't want to kill you just yet. I want to play more, And so that's why he made that deal, even with the lieutenant.
Oh, okay. So now I see it. Okay, so if that's the case. Then I guess it isn't as trophy, but I still didn't. I don't know, something about it. Maybe because of the cat. I don't know. I didn't like the getaway of the cat.
No, I would give you the cat, but I would agree with that completely. But again, I have to give the movie credit because they did show the cat at the cabin earlier.
Yes.
So if they hadn't shot that scene, then I would agree with you 100% and say you're absolutely right. But because they already showed that cat and then a separate cat that he was able to inhabit, again, setting up all the mysteries, it's fair that I could have, oh, wait, what about the cat? But I didn't catch it. So I give the movie credit for that in that sense,
And another thing I noticed when I was watching the movie, you all don't know this watching, but behind the scenes, I've been advocating for us to do a musical month. And we got a little sneak peek of that in this movie because there was a couple times when he's going body from body. It was like almost like a scene in a musical. One person starts off the first part of the song, the next person finishes. I said, okay, this is a taste.
It's a freaky musical.
Yes.
I can't listen to the song that she's referring to is Time Is on My Side by the Rolling Stones. I can't listen to that song now without thinking of this movie. By the way, the first time I saw this movie, and I heard the main character, Reese, when he started singing that song, when he's dancing down the Green Mile to be put into the gas chamber, it so was cemented in my brain. I can't now listen to that song without thinking of some Azazel or something like that jumping from body to body, especially because the lyrics in it refer to what he's talking about in the movie in his narration.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought great. I like the fact that they added that in there. It makes it a little bit more eerie, like a little creepy. So that was a great ad. But who would like to go next? Anyone? Vic, you're on mute.
I'm muting myself. All right, so the reason why I said I got to rewatch it again is because I really enjoyed it for the most part.
Did you mute yourself?
No, I didn't mute myself. What happened just now? I don't know. Anyway, you guys can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, no, the reason why I said that is because I was watching it, but then I kept getting interrupted. So I want to watch it fully, and and obviously it's a Denzel movie, so I was excited to watch it. But the story is crazy. I love the parts where the demon just kept touching different things and trying to get into different people and just running and just chasing. And especially when the girl was running and she was trying to run away from it, like that was just nuts. And then the other scene where like Denzel was just trying to figure out who was who, especially when time is by my side and he was just transferring to like 5 or 6 people. That was the creepiest part. And there's one thing in this movie that I realized, and I don't know if everyone else feels this way, but I feel like, especially after watching a lot of these movies, I think that one of the main differences that we have now is the music. I really think that the music was a lot more effective back then. Mm-hmm. And in this movie, I definitely felt that in a lot of scenes, a lot of scenes. Because mind you, like this felt like a horror movie, but there wasn't really. I don't know how to say it. There wasn't really like a main killer. You know what I mean? Even though the demon was just running around and trying to get killed. I mean, I liked it because it was very, very smart. It's something that really brought you in and made you think. And mind you, banging quotes. All right, let me give you a call. Yeah. Actually, I put one there that I know you're going to say later, so I'm not even going to say it. I ain't even going to say it. So I'm just going to do this one. Yep. I'm gonna just do this one. There are moments which mark your life, moments which you realize nothing will ever be the same, and time is divided into two parts: before this and after this. I love this quote because it speaks to what we're going through right now. 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, we're going to talk about things pre and post COVID. So yeah. I really like that quote. But anyway, done.
Chris, what do you have to say about this movie?
Well, what can I say? This was a Denzel Washington movie. I think Victor said that so eloquently. And normally in Denzel Washington's movie, I'm not sure. C might hate on Denzel Washington. I know she hates on a few people. But in a Denzel Washington movie, typically he brings it. That's what he's good at. And he definitely brought it in this one. I thought, like, wow, this doesn't seem like something I really think he would play and excel at. But he did. He did a very good job. And you mentioned that there was a star-studded cast, which is great because it was, right? And John Goodman always brings in every single one of his movies. So that's also something that we want to shout out and we want to highlight. There were some people I thought took the movie a little bit back, but I'm not going to talk about them later. We'll talk about them a little bit more in the recasting segment, which you should look out for on the YouTube.
Chris, I hope that you don't do it.
So there's some people that need to be recasted, right? One of my favorite scenes was definitely the cat talking. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it at all, and then I'm like, "Who is that talking?" I mean, I know who was talking, but like, what body is he in? And then they show him. I'm like, "Oh, I can no longer take this movie seriously." And I'm sorry, like, I took it seriously. It was a guy that was like, fearful, and he was switching, and it was just like, wow, what would I do in that situation? This detective is good, but what would I do in that situation? And then looking at a cat with this nice 90s CGI. And it reminded me a lot of Hocus Pocus, which was a movie you weren't a fan of, which shows your movie taste. But yeah. I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good scene. So it was kooky, but it was in a good scene. The ending, the twist ending, was a little bit like, I should have known something like was going to happen. And I like the fact that you have to pay attention to things that happened in the first scene. That's one of the reasons why I saw the first one so much. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty good. I gotta give it a little credit for that. The ending, the cat thing was cheesy yet again, but we knew it was coming. Because if he was going to die, he would have died right away. Him fighting and struggling like he's trying to get back up after a night of sex, it just shows that he was going to find some way to survive. So,
let me jump in here with some of these quotes. Vic already did one of them. I thought that was great. I had that one written down. This is another one that I mentioned early in the show. Something is always happening, but when it happens, people don't always see it or understand it or accept it, right? There's another scene, and that's Azazel talking, but again, with the voice of Denzel Washington, right? Because the movie is told as he's dying, quote unquote, at the end of the movie. So he's just retracing and letting us catch up to where he is, right? Another one, there's a scene, and James Gandolfini is a great actor, and he also brings it in everything he's in. And his character, the way he played this cop, is so true to life, right? But you don't even know. You're thinking, is he a secondary villain in this movie? The way he was clearly he was corrupt to some degree or whatever like that. But it's an interesting back and forth that James Gandolfini's character has with Denzel Washington's character, right? And they're in a bar and they're celebrating that that Reese was executed, right? Because he was a serial killer and he's gone. He's out of here. They don't got to worry about him anymore, right? So they're having some beers and they're talking back and forth. And James Gandolfini's character says to Denzel, I hear you don't take any cream, talking about you don't get any payouts or anything from any of the businesses or whatever. You don't, if there's a bust, you don't take any money or anything like that, right? And Denzel says no to that. And then he goes this, where did I write it down? I don't have it. Oh, I didn't write it down. But the back and forth between them, and he's basically saying that whether cop takes a bribe or not, 90 to 95% of the time, they're doing more good at, and he names off, lawyers, doctors, I think firefighters or something like that, than any of those people, right? Whether they take bribes or not. And I love that scene because it's a great little peek inside the philosophy that you have in a lot of these police departments and precincts, right? Because even though Denzel Washington, his character is portrayed as the shining knight, right? And that's why there's kind of like this antagonism with James Gandolfini's character, because he's not. He's old school cop, right? In this movie, how they portray it. He still allows it to go on and doesn't report it. And the way he says it is, who's he going to report it to? It's almost like James Gordon in, I think it's Batman Begins. He says, well, who am I going to tell? When his partner takes money from the falafel man, right? He's like, well, who am I going to tell anyway in a city that's corrupt? So it's a great peek into police departments and the philosophies that they have and how they work, and the quote unquote good cops, and then the overall culture that you may have, or the people, the higher ups in those positions, that things that they're willing to overlook for what they call the greater good, even as the shining knight Denzel Washington's character says. So I thought it was a great moment, as Vic says, considering what we're talking about today currently, and I imagine, sad to say, even into the future, right? So it's just a great peek on that. But another quote that I like is this. He says, this is again Azazel, strong people keep moving forward no matter what they're going to find. And I like that because that's a true statement, because oftentimes, well, everybody in their life, they hit what I call a hiccup, right? And some people collapse under that pressure. Some people fold. Some people need a minute. You know what I mean? But the strong of them, even if they take a knee, even if they need a minute to compose themselves, they keep pushing forward. It doesn't matter what they're going to find. Oftentimes they know, they have an idea of where it's going, but they keep pressing forward. And it's a true statement that strong people always move forward regardless of what they're going to find. And I just really like that, because again, I love realistic things and everything like that. And of course, that's leading into next month's pick, which is just a movie full of quotes, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Anybody else?
No, we're actually going to run the commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen, to find out what we're reviewing next Tuesday and Thursday. You're watching Unpopular Review. Stay with us.
This Clone War has.
Anakin, don't do anything without first consulting either myself or the Council.
You don't need guidance, Anakin. I see you becoming the greatest of all Jedi.
The boy has exceptional skills.
His abilities have made him arrogant.
The dark side clouds everything. In grave danger you are.
For Professor Sherman Klump, being the big man on campus was no laughing matter. But now, thanks to the miracle of science, he's about to make a change for the thinner.
Anything I can get for you? Juice, coffee, rack of lamb?
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, we'll be reviewing Star Wars Attack of the Clones, the next movie in our franchise that we're doing on Tuesdays. And then Thursday, it's going to start off with Vic's pick, which he's down there chanting Hercules on mute. But we're starting off with Vic's pick of the Nutty Professor. But we are right here back talking about James's pick of the last pick of this month, which is Fallen. And we're going to get into our final thoughts and regrets. Once you get yourself off of mute, you will be the one starting off. Final thoughts.
I'm sorry. I'm still on Hercules. I'm excited about that movie. Anyway, final thoughts. I got to watch it again. I like this movie. It was a roller coaster. It's a Denzel movie. It's a good time. Watch it. Thumbs up.
All right. I'm going to also give it a thumbs up. There were some corny spots, but it was good. Thumbs up. I enjoyed it.
All right. I know which. So I like this movie. Obviously, I picked it. I go back to it every so often. It's one of those movies that I can't just have playing in the background. I have to watch certain scenes. I like the dialogue back and forth. It's an effective mystery that can be solved. I like that. I don't like a mystery that can't be solved and it just comes out of nowhere. We talked about how the cat in the end, even though they foreshadowed it, That's a writing term for those professional writers out there. Even though they foreshadowed it, it's a little tropey or whatever like that, but it's still effective, right? And Chris called it in one of the scenes. If he was going to die, he wouldn't have been gasping for breath. He would have died instantly, right? So that's another sign of things being a little deceiving. They're not exactly what they seem. Great actors in this movie, great performances, and realistic characters. I thought everybody was true to who they were supposed to be, and you got a peek into everybody's life. I really believe that Denzel Washington's character, Hobbs, and Jonesy, John Goodman's character, have been partners for quite some time. They did care about one another, and they did want the best for each other. And I know that because when things started to unravel and Hobbs started to be framed, I didn't want that to be the case. As Chrissy said, I was rooting for him to actually win, right? And when the movie can make you do that and you care about characters that you've never met before, right? It's not like there's a whole line of fallen movies. That's something, and it should be applauded. I give this movie a thumbs up.
All right, 3 thumbs up. What is the executive consultant going to give it? Let me tell you right now, 7.0 out of 10 on IMDb.com. Cost $10 million to make. Made $25 million. That's worldwide and the United States. Now, I talked about some scenes, and then I listened to Vic, and Vic was like, hey, you know what? The music was so much better at that time. You know, it was so much more effective. And I had to disagree with Vic on that one a little bit. Normally, I do agree with Vic when it comes to the music, but this one I'm going to disagree because while I was watching this movie, only one song came to mind. Crazy curvy. And the reason why that song came to mind is because my favorite scene in this movie, actually, I was trying to allude to it, was when dude fell and then he just chased the woman. As he was chasing the woman, he just went from person to person to person to person by touching it. It was the best scene in the movie because it was very, very suspenseful. So I like that. So I thought I had to shout out that song because that's all I was thinking of the entire time. That's all I'm saying with that one. Now, that being said, this movie was pretty well done. Pretty good, suspenseful. I like a good thriller. Gets a thumbs up for me. Vic, it's 4 thumbs up. Can you take us home?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching another edition of Unpopular Reviews. Make sure to check out our recasted of this movie on YouTube. It's going to be a good time. Thanks, and have a great night.